So, questions, please. Okay, a gentleman right there in a Nehru jacket.
My God,
or
your eyesight
Modi
is better
jacket.
than
Modi
mine.
jacket, sorry.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Sohail.
I think what you might need really is a flak jacket more than anything else. But anyway.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for your words and your incisiveness dealing with these murky topics that we're all trying to parse. My name is Sohail. I'm from Kerala.
Oh.
And my question is about another paradox, the paradox of Kerala. Kerala recently has been subject of a lot of attacks and criticism from certain quarters of Indian political discourse. Now, how much of that criticism do you think is warranted and people from Kerala, you and myself, should take seriously? And how much of that do you think is completely unwarranted? And if at all, are there any lessons that maybe Kerala can teach?
Well, it depends on the point of view that the critic is coming from. So, for example, if you look at those who sort of denounce the place as a hotbed of communism, literally they're right. It's the only state in India ruled by the Communist Party, and the communists have won re-election. But if you look at what they actually practice, there isn't a communist practice in their entire repertoire. So what are we talking about? This is a party that's stuck to an old label, but which is very much moved with the times and is extremely in bed with the capitalist classes, as it were. So that's again a question. There is the other criticism that Kerala is a place where you can't do business because we have the most advanced labor rights in the country, and of course we also have the most hyperactive unions who will show up with red flags the moment you try and start a factory and so on. Now there is some justice in that criticism, because I've actually spent some time trying to promote investments in Kerala, and a heck of a lot of investors, including people like you of Malayali origin living abroad, have refused to invest in Kerala because they don't believe their investments will be safe. And that's something I believe desperately needs changing, because what I'm seeing today is young people like you leaving the state in very large numbers. They can't wait to graduate and get out of there because they feel their prospects for jobs, for advancement are so much more limited in Kerala. I remember a young man, when I asked him why he felt he needed to go outside the state, he said, "What's there for me here? Isn't it a retirement home? Isn't Kerala an old age home?" is what he actually said. And that kind of concern is real. I believe all criticism should be taken seriously. Look behind it to understand what exactly people are saying and see whether some of it can be addressed. I mean, the great Kerala model we've all talked about sometimes does rest on some illusions. For example, we have the country's highest literacy rate. That's not illusory. That goes back a couple of hundred years of practice in Kerala. We have a very well-organized civil society and a lot of excellent community responses and so on and so forth, all of which works very well. But it's also true that as you look at the way in which Kerala has grown up and developed, there are a number of things that are sustained entirely by remittances from us having exported our unemployment. Our people have gone off and worked in the Gulf, have worked in other cities in India, sent money home, and that's what sustained this high ranking in the Human Development Index. The day those countries decide they don't need Keralites anymore, or expatriate labor anymore, we would be in very, very serious trouble. And we should actually take this window to try and create the institutions and practices that would make Kerala viable, even if tomorrow all our expatriates had to come back.
The lady there on the left, please.
Thank you. My name is Manju Kak. I come from Delhi. My question is that it is well known that the centrist approach of the Congress Party, which Patel symbolized, had its roots in a very Hindu consciousness. Somewhere along the line, the Congress Party abandoned that for vote bank politics. That was obviously harnessed by the current dispensation through a genuine sense of grievance of the aspirational, what you call, people who occupy Bharat and not India. Why has your party not been able to harness that, considering it is important and topical, and relegated that political space only to the domination of the RSS? Is there any genuine political reason, I'm not talking about the philosophical reason, but any genuine political reason for that?
Well, I mean, you're asking in a sense the wrong person, because I actually have written a book called Why I'm a Hindu, which is available in the US. And Seema has been accusing me of not publicizing my own books enough. Let me flag this one to you. It actually explains my Hinduism, and I believe the Hinduism of the vast majority of people who've grown up in the Hindu faith in India. But I think it's also because of my political conviction that you can't win the argument with Hindutva from a purely secular standpoint. that you really do have to enter into the discourse, as I have done, to argue that Hindutva is a distortion of real Hinduism. And the Hinduism of Swami Vivekananda and others that I have tried to articulate and that most Hindus have grown up with is actually a very inclusive Hinduism and not the Hinduism that these chaps practice, which has reduced the soaring majesty of the faith into something akin to the hooligan, the sort of the petty parochialism of the British football hooligan. When it goes on saying, you don't support my team, I'm going to bang you on the head with my placard. I mean, that's not Hinduism, but that's what the Hindutva movement has reduced it to. Now, going back to your question of why has the Congress not stuck to that, it's partially because secularism had become an article of faith. I don't accept the notion of vote bank politics being an exclusively Congress failing, because every party was playing this game. As Seema mentioned, some were appealing to certain castes, some were appealing to certain linguistic groups, some to certain religious groups, and some were trying to see if they could construct coalitions of different interests. And perhaps it's not entirely wrong to say that at some stage, Congress politicians may have thought it useful to appeal to Muslim votes by appeasing, quote unquote, a word I don't like either, the most sort of conservative elements in those communities, and telling them that they would be safe as long as they voted for the Congress. Be that as it may, obviously the shelf life of that approach has ended with the elections of 2014, if not even earlier. By the 90s already, you saw a significant shift in the voting pattern. I think what the Congress is now trying to do, rightly in my view, is to move the debate beyond Hinduism and its practice, since 80% of the population is Hindu anyway, into the issues that matter to all people, whether you're Hindu or not. The fact that you don't have jobs right now, that we have the highest recorded rate of unemployment ever since figures began to be kept. The fact that in India, which is a low-tolerance country when it comes to inflation, we have a pretty high inflation rate. That means that most people are no longer able to afford the regular purchases that they went to the marketplace for, even fruit and vegetables. So all of these issues, which cut across into sort of what the West would call bread and butter issues for people, those are the issues on which we want to run, rather than enter into sterile debates about faith, about whether we are appeasing one group or another group, whatever else. Everybody at the end of the day needs to eat, needs to live, needs a job, needs a chance to thrive. And we will, of course, insist that that should be irrespective of their religious origin. So the Congress's attitude is very much that, yes, every Muslim should feel safe with the Congress, but so too should every Hindu. As far as we're concerned, we would like to remain the party of all Indians, as we were during the freedom struggle.
Okay, we'll go to this side of the auditorium. There's a gentleman
Last question.
right for me.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Tharoor. Thank you for coming to New York and giving me the opportunity to at least see you face to face. My name is Punit. I live in New York, probably connected to India a lot more than I need to be. So I'd like to address that unnecessary controversy of Bharat that you pointed out correctly. Well, there's a method to the madness, in my opinion at least. Since the coalition left the name UPA and started INDIA, India, the psyche behind every Indian would be to vote for India. And if I'm not mistaken, what BJP is doing is what every other party would do at the same time, which is use the terminology that is already in there to hit subliminally and work around it. So how is it so controversial? I mean, to me, it's not.
No, it wouldn't be if they were doing it in Indian languages. I speak of Bharat all the time when I make my speeches in Kerala and Malayalam. And it's sure the same logic applies in Hindi. It's this deliberate sort of mixing up by using Bharat, where the word India used to be used, that creates this problem. Actually, I did mischievously suggest that if their problem was with the opposition alliance calling itself India, then we could call ourselves the Alliance for Betterment, Harmony, and the sort of reconstruction of a better tomorrow, or whatever. That would give us Bharat at the end, a reconstruction, and the revival of advancement for tomorrow, or responsible advancement for tomorrow. And you get Bharat, and then we can have both Bharat and India as our acronyms in English, and then we'll see whether the BJP will change the name of the country one more time. I mean, it becomes a bit fatuous, doesn't it, to get into this game? I think we were doing perfectly well for 75 years using India in English and Bharat in Indian languages, and I think we should continue doing that. The fact that we call ourselves India in every language as an opposition alliance, even though the term is originally in English, is merely a happenstance. It's going to last 6 or 8 or 9 months. After all, Mr. Modi, as the Prime Minister of India, has many, many slogans using the word India, including Digital India, Make in India, Start Up India, Stand Up India, Sit Down India. I mean, got the whole lot. So I'm not sure it's going to make that much of a difference at the end of the day. But I suspect this bubble too will burst before too long, and we'll move on to grapple with the real issues facing the country.
Do you think the name of the alliance, India, got the BJP's goat a little bit?
It seems to have got under their skin because, the same prime minister who used so many slogans with India in it started comparing the opposition alliance to the Indian Mujahideen and other sort of terrorist groups that used India in their names, which frankly seemed a bit over the top. Wouldn't you say?
I would, yeah. That was a little much.